What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Too Much Test Podcast, episode 26. If you watched episode 25, we're wearing the same clothes because we're doing 2 episodes tonight. We're all pretty busy, so we're trying to bang this out, just like your mom. Anyway, just joking, but sorry, I was a little aggressive. I'm not trying to bang your guys' moms or anyone else's. But anyway, I'm here with Sam and David. You can find Sam on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Search Sam Stolt. You can find David on Instagram under Dynamite_D. I believe YouTube and TikTok is his normal name, David Demesquita.
Yep.
Okay. You can find me on all 3 of those platforms as Test Your Levels. If you are watching this on YouTube, we are on every other podcast platform. A like, share, whatever would be greatly appreciated. If you're listening, we do have a YouTube channel. We would appreciate it if you clicked on a sub, gave us a like, showed us some support. What is going on, guys? Sam's on Tren. Let's go.
I personally love the aggressiveness. It sounds like somebody else is on Tren at the beginning of the show, coming off super, super aggressive, and I think it's awesome. I just started microdosing Tren, like real microdosing, not like a microdose of like 100 milligrams a week, like 5 milligrams a week. It is pre-workout on Monday or Tuesday with testosterone base, also 5 milligrams. It's been 2 weeks, and I'm also the other days, right? Because we've talked about how I structure things in terms of like total milligram load for the week. And later on, I want to ask you guys about that because I'm thinking about changing the same milligram dose, but just going all in on one compound. And I want to hear your thoughts on that. But doing 10 milligrams, 5 of Tren and 5 of test base, and I'm really enjoying it. Like the workouts that I utilize that in are awesome, and there's like a ripple effect, like at least for like probably the next 1 to 2 days, where I still, at least it's probably just a placebo effect, but I do have really good workouts the next couple of days. And I just weighed myself, and I'm back up to 242 pounds, and relatively lean.
So I've got 2 questions, maybe even 3. How the fuck do you measure 5 milligrams in an insulin syringe? B, I'm assuming this would be like Tren Ace or something. It'd be something that real quick. I mean, are you doing like test suspension or propionate?
Test suspension. So it's a blend of like 105 milligrams of. So it's like 5 milligrams, like just over 5 milligrams of, because I'm taking 10 milligrams total, which because there's 105 milligrams per ml, I'm taking 10 tick mark on the insulin syringe. It's technically just a marginally over 5 milligrams, if that makes sense. Like 1 ml, full ml is 105 milligrams. I'm taking the 10 tick mark on an insulin pen, which comes out to translate to just over 10. So I'm just marginally more than 5 milligrams of test suspension and test Tren base or whatever. I didn't know what it was going to be like because I've never utilized it before. Obviously, it's trivial compared to what like people who take it regularly, but I still feel like I noticed it. And I think it has more of the profile, kind of like its SARM. So I don't think you need a gigantic dose. I think a lot of people take too much of it. Personally, like if you all you hear about with a compound is side effects, right? They're like, oh my God, Tren is the worst thing in the world, right? Because of these side effects, this, that, and the other thing. Well, then you're probably taking too fucking much of it, right? Like if you take something and the only thing you hear about on the internet or from people who take it is side effects, then on average, people are just taking too much of that compound. Like you should cut the dose back, and then you realize what's actually an effective dose for something that reduces side effects, in my opinion, whatever.
I like, in the last one, this cracks me up. So in the last podcast, episode 25, which you should definitely check out, Sam was like, you know what? I'm not really a big fan of, Sam cut out again. Back. But he was like, Sam's like, you know what? Fuck soap. So I don't use soap because I don't want to be using something that's absorbing into my skin twice a day. It's not natural. And then he's like, pre-workout, Tren and test suspension. Fuck yeah.
Just call it like you see it. I appreciate it. He is right.
You go from
my
Whole Foods to fucking pinning Tren and suspension in the back of the gym.
Well,
I love
so you guys know that I do about 325. That's my cap of like milligrams that I take per week, excluding like peptides or MK677, anabolic speaking. I was thinking of potentially testing out like 325 milligrams of just test because I haven't tried. I started TRT, 3 years ago. I started at like maybe 175 milligrams, then I went up to 225, then I went back down to 200 or 187 or something. And I've just been in that the max is 225, and that's where I've been at right now for about a year and a half. Well, you guys have both used higher dosages than I have in terms of test. What are your thoughts on just dropping any of the other anabolics and just utilizing test 325 milligrams a week? And no SARMs, nothing else except for peptides and maybe MK677.
If you never had aromatization issues, test is king for everything. Like, why use anything else? That's my answer.
Do you think it's more effective than a multi-pronged approach?
No, I mean, in a perfect scenario, if you're talking 300 milligrams a week and you don't have aromatization issues and no cholesterol issues and your heart's not getting enlargement or anything like that, like, why would you do anything else if you can get zero side effects and only benefits out of it, right? And then if you're adding in something like a DECA, even, which I like, people know, like 100 milligrams of DECA a week is something that I do talk about it being a great tool. But there's side effects that comes with DECA, even in low amounts. There's side effects that come with everything, but test is just one of those things that it's bioidentical. Bioidenticals are just the king. It just reduces all side effects. So as long as you're not getting those side effects such as cholesterol, your HDL being crushed and other things like that, I mean, why not? If you don't have estrogen issues. So that's a big issue with tests, is the estrogenic issues, which you have to combat with other things.
What Tren that doesn't aromatize? Or barely.
There we go. There we go.
What type of like dosages do you do for a contest, right? Because I know you just finished up, and by the way, anybody who's listened to this, David just competed in 2 different shows. You did the ballerina one and then the men's bodybuilding, right?
I'm dead.
No.
He just called it men's bikini. So I was doing. So I'm actually 5 weeks out from the show to try to go pro. I literally slapped on a tan, jumped on stage, won the overall show for classic physique, and then won my class for men's physique, and was battling for an overall for men's physique. Did not win men's physique, but I did win the overall in the classic. So my dosages are going to be laughable in the bodybuilding world, and people are probably going to say that I'm lying, even though I'm very open and honest about my use. 300 milligrams of test, 300 milligrams of EQ, and I won the overall. And, that's 600 milligrams across the board of testosterone. That's quite a bit of testosterone. And you have all these people that are running grams and grams of gear. I probably had less in my system than just about anyone on that stage.
And what's your size? Like what weight did you come in at for the show?
Yeah, I can't weight in at 190 on the dot. So that's my weight cap is 190, and I'm going to probably peeled, bone peeled, inside and out peeled. I'll probably be 186 pounds, I would say, maybe in the 185s, peeled out before I fill out and stuff like that. But I'm going to be inside and out in 5 weeks. Like, I've already dropped another 3 pounds since the show. I'm now 191.2 pounds as of this morning. And then on the day before my show, I weighed in at 196 and I woke up at 190. And then we were throttling water and food to make sure that I stayed at my weight cap.
What is the criteria that people utilize to go pro like today versus because it used to be different?
Did you say to go pro?
Yeah.
It's actually still the same. They never changed that. They changed how many spots you can qualify. I always thought it's funny because I don't know if my coach lied to me or what, but I was always told that the top 2 people become nationally qualified, right? And so the first show I ever did, actually the first show I did, I was in college and I stepped on stage like without even doing anything. And then that was in men's bikini, as you say, or men's physique. And then my second show was 2 years later or a year and a half later, and I won the first overall classic show in Georgia. So that was my real time actually stepping on stage, like with all intentions of competing. And that gets you qualified. So you have to get top 2 at an NPC show. That's
So top 2 in whatever division, doesn't matter.
Whatever class within the division, so which is different height classes or weight classes. If it's bodybuilding, so only weight. Other divisions are height.
Do they have to be the same, or can you switch it up? It doesn't matter.
What do you mean? Can it be the same?
So you're in, say, classic physique and you win a division there, and then you're in men's physique and you win a division there.
Oh, you can. So it's called crossing over. As long as you qualify, you can cross over whenever you want to. Like, so let's say I won the overall. Let's say I didn't win men's physique, right? And I just won classic physique. Then I could go to a national show and I could do classic, I could do bodybuilding, and I could do men's physique if I wanted to. So you can cross over in all classes, and they don't mind. They're getting paid, right?
but to win, to become pro, though, according to them.
So now to become pro, let's say you're nationally qualified. So you were top 2 at a local national qualifier. You go to so you have junior shows, you have and national shows, but the junior shows are still national shows. The only difference is they give out less pro cards at the junior shows. So usually it's actually more competitive. Not necessarily, but sometimes. In certain classes, it depends on the class. So Junior USA is the show that I'm going to be doing. They give out only 1 pro card per class winner, at least in classic physique. Every class is different. Some of these classes, they give out 4, approximately 3 to 4.
So this is class, you're talking bodybuilding, men's physique, and classic physique. So
they actually don't give out any in bodybuilding. In junior shows, they don't give any in bodybuilding. At national shows, they will, even though they're all national shows. They're all the same, in my opinion. But there's different shows give out a different amount of pro cards.
And what makes a national show versus a junior show?
Just the name. Literally, like there's no difference. They're literally national shows, but one's a junior show and they give out less pro cards, and then the national shows they give out more pro cards.
So they just have to have an in with whoever needs to be able to approve that shit at the IFBB, correct? Basically.
Say that one more time.
Basically, they just need to have an in with somebody at the IFBB to be able to approve it so that they can be a national show and then give out more pro.
No, you have to qualify. You have to do a local show, a national qualifier. You have to get top 2. You qualify because when you apply to compete at a national show or junior show, you have to actually tell them what show and what place you got or how you qualified. And then they can backtrack it. Let's say you win your pro card and you didn't qualify, they can take it away from you.
Oh, I meant for the show. So if I was like putting on a show, if I was putting, not the competitor, but if I was like, I'm doing the show and it's a junior show, I just need to know somebody at the IFBB who is like, yeah, let's make your show into a national show so that I can give out more pro cards so that more people will come.
I just had this conversation with someone else because I was thinking about actually creating my own show in the future. It is so difficult to even get a regional show, like a local show for a national qualifier show, like a local show. That is extremely difficult. A national show like that, usually these judges own it. Like they have been in there. This has been their bread and butter for the last 30 to 40 years sometimes that they've been in the NPC IFBB. They have massive stakes in it. So those people on the shows, you have like Tim Gardner, you have who owns these national shows? Tim Gardner is a big one. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm saying, but there's a few big time, big name judges that own.
So are the judges the people who are putting on the show? So you guys know Dexter, right? So he's dating my girlfriend's like cousin. They've been together for 10, 15 years at this point, and he has a show over in Jacksonville that he does. But I don't like chit chat with him or anything like that. But he is the one who's like, he might, maybe he's partnered with a PR firm or partnered with like the company that does the show, like the organizational portion of it. I have no idea. Maybe he just does it himself. I have no idea. But is it, you're talking about there's judges who are the ones who are actually putting on the shows?
Not necessarily. So the judges also can't judge your own shows. Whoever owns a show cannot judge. They can't expedite. They don't do anything. They just own the show. Then usually what they do is they pull in a show promoter to promote their show, to basically do the marketing, the advertising, all that stuff. And usually these show promoters do the majority of the state that they're in, or half the state, whatever it is, depending on how good they are, right? Like, if you don't like them, you're obviously hiring someone else. But that's what the show promoters do. But the big national shows are usually owned by these judges. And then there's a guy named Sharu who owns like their expeditions, I think is what they're called, or exhibits, I think. Like, for instance, the Arnold Classic, they have the Expo. There we go, expositions. So like the Arnold Expo, for instance, that's a big piece. So Sharu, when he's putting on a show, has massive expos that come with it. And then you bring in sponsors and promoters and stuff like that to pull money in. It's run like a business.
Oh, yeah. I got a quick question for you, Dave. So with like these weights, you know, like how much you weigh, right? Like, I know is it similar to wrestling and MMA fighting where guy fucking walks in super fucking dehydrated, 185, and he fights at 205. So what's the point of that? Is that literally just to like torture someone? Because I think having to make that severe weight cut, even though everyone's going to be 185 and then 210 on stage. Like why would they put people through this when everyone knows everyone's going to be 210 on stage? Like, that seems to be more of the dangerous portion of it, is that last final cut, dehydration, taking a shit ton of T3, stuff like that. Like, why don't I know you guys will say, Dave, you're deep into bodybuilding, but for me, I don't care as much about the shreddedness. I kind of more about the mass symmetry. But I mean, why put people through that? What's the thought process?
So that's a really good question. So, and I just want to kind of talk about the history of bodybuilding, like recent history of bodybuilding, because this is where it actually matters. So we look back and we had Arnold Schwarzenegger, we had people like Lee Haney, and then all of a sudden you had Dorian Yates, right? And then you had Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler and all these mass monsters that came up. That was open bodybuilding. It was size and how lean you could get. Obviously, symmetry came into play as well. It always did. But they really got away from the aesthetic look, and they did reel it back in. Arnold had a big statement. This was, I believe, 6 or 7 years ago, and it was at the Arnold Brazil, where he goes, I do not agree with the winner, right? It was something massive statement like that.
Long ago? Damn.
It was a while ago when he said something like that. And he's made it very, very apparent that classic physique is the future of bodybuilding. So they came out with classic physique and weight cap. So one, they have open bodybuilding in pro levels. They have open bodybuilding. They also have 212 bodybuilding. So if you're shorter, and you have to compete against guys that are 280, 300 pounds on stage. Now, they're not all 300 pounds. It's very uncommon. But either way, 260 to 280 pounds is an open bodybuilder normally. And so they invented the 212 class so that if you're 5'2", 5'3", that class is probably for you and you're going to do extremely well. And then they came out with classic physique within the past, I guess it was 2016 is when I won my show. So 2016, 6 years ago, they came out with classic. And classic originally, by the way, was a brutal weight cap to the point where I almost had a stroke when I was trying to make weight that year. And it does get dangerous making weight cap when you have to dehydrate yourself just to make weight cap. Now, with classic, they increased the weight by an extra 10 pounds from back then, actually 13 pounds total. And then at the pro levels, they added an extra 10 pounds there so you can fill out your frame a little bit more. And I think that classic is perfect where the weight caps are. You can in quotations, naturally get there. It's more appealing to the general public. And it's still not easy to make weight cap, but it's very doable if you're not growing out of the class. And if you grow out of the class, then you have a division like 212 or open bodybuilding if you're going to grow into it. So now I always say you should fall where you naturally fall. whatever look is going to be your best look. So for instance, if I couldn't make weight cap anymore in 190, because it has been extremely difficult for me for the past 2-3 years to make weight cap. When I was competing a few years ago, I was going to have to move up to open bodybuilding. In fact, John Meadows goes, I'm never pulling you into classic again. 190 isn't your weight cap class. And 197 would be light heavyweight. So I just move up into get an extra 7 pounds, which would have made a huge difference. I went from 204 all the way down to 188 pounds to make my weight cap. Couldn't eat or drink water for almost 24 hours to make my weight. And you feel like crap. You step on the scale and you're like praying to God, like, please, like make sure I don't have to go upstairs and do Epsom salt baths or put on a sauna suit and sit in a sauna or walk anymore because I don't know if I can take it anymore. I mean, there was one time where I had to cut 7 pounds in 2 hours, and I actually had to stick my head in the AC unit, and I was in so much pain that I almost had tears, but I didn't have any water at that point in my system, so there were no tears coming out. I was in physical pain. And if you are getting to that point, that is not the right class for you. Or B, you do not cut enough body fat off to make it into that weight class. So you have to be real with yourself. Are you actually bigger than that class? Or B, did you not just get lean enough? And this to go around, I am bigger and I'm leaner 6 weeks out from this show than I was 1 week out from the last show. Well, not leaner, but close to, and my weight's less. And a lot of the reasons is I think that people are overusing androgenic drugs, and it makes you weigh more. Like, it expands the cell membranes and makes you retain more glycogen. So if you just reduce down your drugs, then you're probably going to have an easier time making weight cap, and you're going to have a better look because you're not starving yourself to make into weight cap. Well, now you obviously cut down fat, but people's
muscle bellies today are crazy compared to what they were. They're like so different. Yes, so obviously anabolics, but the training technique and the level of commitment and dedication that you like today versus somebody from, and people always want to like pontificate about how special shit was fucking 20 years ago. Well, who gives a shit? Today, people look way fucking better, right? And the muscle bellies, man, like you see Chris fucking Bomstead, he is like bigger than some of the 212 guys open, and he's big fella, right? Like, and I'm not like I'm 240 pounds, and like that's a, you know what I mean? He's a big fella, you know what I mean? When you look at it, but the muscle bellies on the top guys are just insane, and I think like that's it comes down to anabolics and stuff and the consistency with it. One of the things that like with the anabolics piece that I don't think I've heard anybody mention other than myself is that you have, say, just if you think about it from a TRT standpoint versus a natty standpoint, you go out, say, with your buddies and have a drink or several drinks or whatever, if that's your thing. Well, that messes up your natural testosterone level, right? Or say you go and you are decide to stay up most of the night, even if you're not drinking, right? That messes up your testosterone. Or say you go have some shitty fucking food all weekend, right? Well, that messes up your shit as well, right? And you have all these things that people do in their lifestyle that messes up their hormone profile in some way, shape, or form. But when you take anabolics, even if you're able to take a lower dose, but you take those anabolics over the consistent period of time at a lower amount, you don't have those aberrations or like those strange, like, yes, you're able to like level it out and you don't have those things. Because if you think about somebody who like it's not those things I mentioned are not things that are like very common in my life, but I'm sure that there's at least some time in a quarter where there's probably one night or 2 or 3 nights where I don't sleep very well, right? And so that can mess up my hormones. And when you get that consistency of the shit with the dedication people have today, because they're like, well, I can make money from affiliates and all this other stuff, they can do this all the time. And then you look at their physique, their muscle bellies and like the shape and like their tricep sweep or their squat sweep or whatever relative to say things like in the past. And it was like a magnitude of difference, like just so much different in the way that people's physiques look today versus when they did years and years ago. But they would go on.
I want to say Dave never answered my question as to why, if there's 20 guys going into a competition, they're all going to fucking kill their bodies and kill themselves to get down to 185. And then after they step on the scale, they go to Chili's, get a fucking burger, carb up, walk on stage at 210. And I'm also announcing this here. I've been contemplating kicking around, getting on stage myself to see if I can do it.
We will be happy as fuck to help you. And that would be an awesome journey for you. And it would also be amazing content for the podcast. So if you guys are listening to this episode and you want Test Your Levels to get on, to do a show, you let us know, take a screenshot, tag us on Instagram, and we will peer pressure the fuck out of him to get him on the stage soon.
Absolutely.
Well, all right. So I feel like I kind of have an idea of what class I am, because I'm 6 foot. I'm probably about 215 right now. I'm thinking about doing women's bikini. Now I think they're going to outcut me all day long, but I feel like I have the mass, and I feel the current environment in the world we live in, I feel like I'll get pretty fucking famous real fast. I identify as a woman now, and I mean, I'm coming for you, ladies. I don't give a shit. Fucking strong woman over here. I'm going to outmass the fuck out of you. I'm going to be like Big Ramey compared to you guys. I'm not going to be cut, but I'm going to dominate female bodybuilding.
You have me going, so you're just fucking with me. And I'm doing this. I'm calling you out and get people to take a screenshot and tag us on Instagram.
I didn't know you were going to be that supportive. I didn't know.
Of course,
I didn't know you guys actually thought that I could actually do that.
You could,
but could not going to. Don't care that much.
I think you would have a blast, especially if you competed as women.
I'm just going to identify as Leah, and I am just going to dominate female bodybuilding.
How messed up is that, guys? Like, how absolutely idiotic is that? Like,
I watched a video today. There was a girl, I think it was on March 17th. She was in a race with that girl. They both came in 5th. Like, they tied, time-wise exactly. And when they went back, the girl said, and this is just what she said that they said, okay, we're going to give Leah 5th. You can pose with the 6th place trophy. We'll mail you the 5th place trophy. And she was like, but we tied, the times are exactly the same. And he said, well, we're doing it in chronological order. And she says, well, what's chronological about that? We tied. And he's like, listen, Leah's getting 5th place. You'll get the 5th place trophy, but she's going to be posing for the picture. And I was like, first, how are you going to fucking tie a man and then they give the tiebreaker to the man? Like, how does that work? Like I'm saying, if you're a male in a female sport, I don't just make a fucking trans league. Let men that transition to female race each other. No one's going to fucking watch it. There's no money in it. That's why they're not going to do it. But just make their own league. There's a reason we had women's and men's sports. That's why I can't take a crossbow and go to a 50 cal sniper competition. They're different weapons. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's cool if you want to do it. I don't care if you transition. Good for you, Leah. If you feel like that and you feel happy, I'm all for it. I love it. Good for it. But don't compete against my fucking daughter in a swimming competition. It's not fair.
I completely agree.
Blunt and honest, and I have nothing against transgenders or anything like that, but I do not believe that it has a role in the sports world. If they want to create a transgender league, go for it. Live your best lives for sure. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't even stand, because they're starting to allow it into the Olympics now too, I believe, from what I read.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense, because you can't take steroids, and it requires steroids and suppression and other things to be able to even transition someone. And how do you even monitor transitioning someone? And then it defies what we were born as. If you're a man and you transition to a female, also there's just biomechanics that you're still at an advantage, even if you have the same hormone levels as a woman. It doesn't matter what you take. It literally the biomechanics of a male's body is built to be a hunter and gatherer.
Where do you think this clown show stuff comes from? Is it because there's the woke left and like the crazies over there, or is it because like sane people just don't stand up yet? And like we're seeing that transition, which is a beautiful thing, and we're like part of that transition of more people doing things is like literally having this dialogue with you guys, right? But where does that come from? Like that poison, that toxic, right? Where we couldn't care. We couldn't care less. We couldn't care less if somebody wants to transition, if somebody wants to call themselves a fucking dollhouse. Like, it doesn't matter to us. And we still want them to be able to say publicly that they're a fucking dollhouse. We couldn't care less. But where is all this like other beta shit coming from? You know what I mean?
You know what I think? I think it is. I'll let Dave go.
No, I'm just gonna say Netflix documentaries.
I think what it is that with social media, that like the 0.1% of the population is gets their voices amplified through social media. Like what percentage of the American population is trans? I mean, I don't know, but I would venture to say less than 1%.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely way under 1%. Way under 1%.
So why is the NCAA scared to say, no, we're not going to allow a biological male to compete against college girls that have worked their entire life and gotten scholarships to go to school for this? They're doing that because they don't want to upset that less than 1% of the American population and their followers on Twitter that will amplify that signal. That's what I think it is. And you know what? Every fucking company that does this woke bullshit and panders to the smallest percentage of people, I just don't buy their shit. That's the bottom line. I vote like Disney.
Yep.
I don't have kids and I don't pay for movies.
You're never going to take them there.
I'm not even going to watch their shit anymore. I'm not even going to give them the pirated number of views. Not that I pirate.
You know, it's funny because if you think about the NCAA, they have quite a few professors within their branch. You would think that they would have some decent lawyers that are professors and teaching other lawyers or something like that. But I mean, who am I?
You had a good point in terms of the social media, because you guys, for anybody listening, David pulled up his phone and Test Your Levels was talking about the social media thing too. And what have we learned about social media in terms of like what is effective to work on social media? Shit that is absolutely stupid, insane. The more sensationalized thing it is, the more attention it's going to get, which then perpetuates that thing. But like, this is like, I'm 100% serious. Like, we're in 2022, guys. Where do you expect this clown show to be if something doesn't change by 2032? It's going to be like, you have to call yourself a girl because it's offensive. You have to call yourself a girl, not you have to call me a girl. You have to call yourself a girl because it's offensive. Like, at what? This is insanity. This is utter. Like, this is so crazy to like stupidness.
What's crazy is that these companies, they haven't figured out that when the woke mob gets all, they're fired up, it's crazy, it's a super controversy, they forget about that shit in a fucking week. So just don't give in and just let the shit tide go through. I mean, we're not talking about COVID anymore. That shit's over. As soon as COVID started to wane out, it's Ukraine and we got to be pro Ukraine because everyone on the left and in the United States knew where the fuck Ukraine was a map before a month. I mean, I know kind of where it roughly is. I didn't know it was right next to Russia, and I really don't give a shit. I'm sorry that shit's going down, but listen, I got my own problems.
Even when you think about the Ukraine-Russia thing, I don't support war whatsoever. It's like the war is like benefiting like a certain subset of society, like you were talking about. That's like 1%, and they make a tremendous amount of money from it, so they're going to promote it. But as soon as you see like all these woke corporations supporting Ukraine, as soon as you see like George Soros supporting Ukraine, as soon as you see like the corrupt person that is in the White House supporting Ukraine, as soon as you see Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and the Obamas and all these other clown, corrupt, disgusting people supporting Ukraine, you're like, I wonder if Putin's actually doing something that's good. Like, I wonder if these biolabs are just used to create wars and other things in other countries to help the farmers. Like, I don't fucking know. And I'm not saying that that's the truth, and I have no idea. But once, like, the clown show starts saying that this is the truth, I tend to go the other direction. Like,
it's just like a knee jerk. It's like a instinct at this point. COVID's going to kill you. You need to get a vaccine. You're like, whoa. Which brings me, actually, I had this written down because I was listening to a guy on the Joe Rogan show who he has a company where he trains people who protect public figures, bodyguards, but not like bouncers, but like real deal, like, anyway. But he was talking, and Joe Rogan asked him, he's like, why did they come after me so hard about ivermectin and smear it as horse paste, horse dewormer, this and that? And I was like, I wonder why that is. And what he said the reason they had to go so hard against ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine is because if there is a viable treatment, then they are not allowed to get an emergency use case, whatever the heck it is, for the vaccine. So basically, the pharmaceutical industry, who's feeding the media and the politicians are feeding everyone, they're a little circle jerk. They basically had to demonize ivermectin, even though it won a fucking Nobel Prize, so that there was no other treatment, so that they could get emergency approval in 100 days for a vaccine, where vaccines usually take between like 7 and 12 years. So I was like, oh shit, I didn't even realize that. I thought they were just like, we don't want anyone taking ivermectin. We want everyone to take the vaccine. I didn't realize that you needed to bastardize one in order to even get the other one to the table.
Because if that other one comes through, then it makes your shit invalid because you don't get the same authorization to force people to take some poison, right? Like, yeah, it's insane. And we should probably go in another direction with this before we get into trouble. But
I'm like just kind of sitting here right now. I'm like, I'm not trying to get canceled, you guys.
Well, there was another one that he was talking about. It's called like Gardenafil, and it's the vaccine for HPV. But they're pushing it on like guys who don't have cervix, because HPV goes on to cause cervical cancer, human papillomavirus.
Yeah.
And they were just talking about how it has really bad side effect profile, but the way that it's marketed is it's marketed as like the daughter, like saying, "Mommy, have you seen this? This is something that may be able to protect me." And they pull it like your heartstrings. Meanwhile, he was saying is like women typically don't get cervix cancer until they're in their 50s anyway, which is, he was like, it's perfect because their parents are dead. So and he was saying cervical cancer it's not one of those cancers where it's like an instant, like, you're dead. It's fairly treatable. But he was saying it's just like, it's a horrible vaccine and it has a shit ton of side effects, and it's a vaccine for something that's not something that's super bad, but the way they're able to market this, it sounds fantastic.
Were they flying a kite in the commercial?
Like what?
Were they flying a kite in the commercial on the beach like they always do?
Oh, I'm sure there's a puppy involved. There's,
I think like when we're talking about the social media stuff, like in the one sense, right? So if you look back 20 years ago, put things into perspective, you had, television stations, you had the radio, and you had like newspapers, right? But today we have social media and the pieces that come along with that, like YouTube, podcasting, blogs, etc. And we are seeing like a resurrection of actual journalism and actual you get to see two sides of something for once. And this, I think, yes, we see censorship, but like I see that this is going to be continuing to eat away at that paradigm. Like the medical whole thing is just so corrupt. You were talking, I don't know if it was this episode or the last one, about Mark Cuban and that pharmacy, the compounding pharmacy or something, and he's just like, hey, I'm just going to make 15% and I'm selling insulin or whatever it was. Like, that's awesome, but we're going to see more and more and more of this stuff come out through like this type of what we're doing here, but what 10,000 other people are doing like throughout that process. And if you guys like enjoy this and want to support this type of information, you should take this podcast and share it with somebody else. You like that transition? Yes.
That's a good segment.
You definitely should share this podcast, and you should also share our YouTube channels and stuff like that too, because we put out very open, forward-thinking information that is suppressed from the normal media, and the true journalism is not done by real media. It's done by smaller people, and that's one reason why Joe Rogan is so popular. Now, he was not mainstream 10 years ago, even though I loved him 10 years. I used to love the scientists that he used to get on there. But you know, he wasn't mainstream, and now he's literally mainstream. People would rather listen to him than CNN, to NBC, to all these places that are getting paid off to do whatever. Like, we're not being paid to do this. We literally love putting out information and learning more and giving back to everyone, because that's our stamp on this planet, is literally what we give back to people, because when we're gone, we're gone.
Yes.
Social legacy media is going to die. Like this, there's old people that watching CNN right now, you know, but it's one of those generational things. You know, it's like the newspaper. They're still clinging on because there are some people that forgot to cancel their subscription that are like 85 years old. But it's going to go away. And I think there's two different types of social media. And I think one of them is really, really fucking good. And then all the rest of it is fucking trash, and it's causing mental illness in our society. So
wow.
Going on to social media and learning stuff. So let's say you're brand new to TRT and you end up on my channel and you're like, oh shit, you know, like my doctor didn't mention anything about this. My doctor didn't talk to me about SHBG. I don't know. I didn't know about DIM. That's kind of good social media. And you can do that for a lot of different things. I could go on to Sam's channel and I could learn about crypto. I could learn about stocks. I could learn about puts and calls. David, I could learn about gut microbiome. It's shit that I've never even heard of before. Now, the bad part of social media is fucking aimlessly scrolling on TikTok, seeing other people that you interpret as being happier, having more than you. I was talking to someone about this today. There's a guy on my Instagram. He has a company that does race car shit, right? And he has like a 2,700 horsepower Supra. Fucking sick, beautiful car. And he gets discounts on some of the stuff because he works on all that stuff. And I was sitting there and I was looking at his stuff. I'm like, why the fuck don't I have enough money to build a 2,700 horsepower Supra? You know? And I was like, fuck. I was like, God damn it, I drive a 370Z. But then if you look back from that, I'm thinking, okay, I have a 4-bedroom house in a gated community. I drive a car that some people would kill for. It's their dream car. You know, I have money in the bank. I have an awesome wife. And so when you see everyone else and you think that they're happier than you, they have better stuff than you, it makes you think your life isn't as good, and it causes mental illness. I don't know. I'm talking a lot.
This is good. This is good because I think you're coming out of the shell, so to speak, metaphorically, because there's several episodes where you're more quiet and you have a valuable voice and good perspective to share. Like I'm not just saying that, and talking about the mental side of things is important. Like one of the reasons I don't talk to a lot of people like in like the physical world very often, because I don't care to have superficial conversations. And if you want to have a superficial conversation, that is fucking awesome. Like, more power to you. But like, I'm just going on with my life, right? And if you like use social media to like feed the envy and like the stupidity that you tell yourself, those stories, it's bad. But it starts with you looking in the mirror and recognizing that, like, as you were talking about, that self-awareness that you got to choose to like look at the positive aspects of your life, the good things that you're like. David has touched on this a couple times. I don't know if it was this episode and last episode, or it was mainly this episode, but like the or maybe both. That doesn't matter. But I talked about it all the time. It's the stories that we go through, and when you really look at everything is literally made up. You're like, well, history. Well, you know how history was made up? By some fucker who wrote about history from his point of fucking view. That's it. It was just made up. And all the shit you know or think you know was just made up by some other fucker who put their POV on it and told you, and they got better PR, so now everybody believes that. That's it. And so when you recognize that, and you recognize that there's a beautiful part of being human, is you can change that. You can change those stories you tell yourself. So, and like I've done this with myself. and you can change the way you see the world so that you do appreciate those things around you. And then if you're like, oh man, I just need the opportunity to make more money in my life. Well, then you start recognizing opportunities all the time when you actually start changing that point of view. So then every single day I've got opportunities to make money or make new friends or find things to appreciate or improve my health or improve like my relationship. Every single day you see opportunities to do that. It's just, there's an idea that this thing is like, oh, in the stratosphere, when in reality it's that tiny little step every single day to improve your life in some fashion that you're not doing today. And like, I really like the direction, we like transition this into naturally because it's so important. And this stuff, 25 years ago, have you ever heard this kind of stuff? This stuff we're talking about right now was on the fringe of society 20 years ago. Nobody talked about this kind of stuff. And now you hear about this stuff fairly regularly. Do you?
I don't know. I mean, I know we're kind of getting to it. I was just thinking of something like today. I was kind of sitting and I was kind of just thinking to myself, like, we're at a point in our society where like you have a computer that in my lifetime, my dad had 100 megabyte external hard drive. It's the size of a fucking briefcase. And now you have like 2 terabytes in your pocket. You have a literally like super high-end computer in your pocket that can do crazy stuff. Like I have an app called CapCut, which I use for my TikTok videos. I basically download like cool 3D backgrounds, put them on there, and then I put a video of myself over it, and I press remove background, and it does an automatic like green screen.
Oh, that's
but
cool.
I mean, just think about the technology that we have. Think about everything and how advanced our society is. Think about everything that we're doing. And we're arguing in 2022 over what men can compete in female sports. We are letting the mainstream media tell us that we hate each other because we have different amounts of melanin in our skin. Like, it's fucking crazy. I mean, real people, and there's a lot more of them in this country than you think. Real people see through this bullshit. I go to the gym, I see fucking Spanish guys talking to black guys talking to white guys. Everyone's fucking having a good time. Everyone's friendly. If someone didn't get it up on the bench, I don't know. It's just amazing how far we've come and yet how fucking stupid we still are.
Well, at least the media is in terms of dividing that, because I personally don't think I know of or talked to one person in the past 24 months who actually supports what is going on. Personally, I don't know. Like, I haven't talked to one person. I don't know. Maybe like I just write them off like immediately, and so I like write them out of my mind and don't remember. But like, I don't honestly think I've talked to somebody who supports what is going on today. I don't. But anyways, if you guys support us, then you'll take a second and you will leave us a review on the different platforms that you're watching this on. And if you want to follow along with our content individually, we all put out our own content on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. You can find us at Test Your Levels at all platforms, right? And David Demesquita, you can do your own, because I don't remember what yours are, but it's David Demesquita on YouTube and TikTok, and then David something else on Instagram.
Dynamite _D on Instagram.
Dynamite, yes. Okay, perfect. And appreciate you guys. You guys have any last words, or
just wish me luck in female bodybuilding?
Yes. Thank you guys. Hey, I enjoyed this. Yes. All right. I was like, I got to get outside before I lose all the daylight.
I'm so dieted down right now. I'm behind an hour on my meal, I just realized. And I was like so faded by the end of this. I was just like spaced.
Yeah. Go check out Dave's channel. He's putting out a lot of good content because he's doing contest prep. So if you could transition some of that stuff into dieting, then that would be fantastic. But you're like 5 weeks out from a show. So watch him. He's going to do a bodybuilding show. So if you have any interest in that, check that out.
I actually just put out a prep hacks video, and this applies to general public that's just trying for weight loss. It's like weight loss tips, essentially like how to make your food taste good with keeping them so low calories and stuff like that, and tricks and tips to make yourself feel full when you're dieting down. So if you guys haven't checked out that video, go and check out that video. Like, even you guys, I mean, you're getting ready for women's bikini, so it'd be a really good video for you to check out.
And if you're interested in Tren, check out Sam. And if you're interested in being natural and not showering, but using Tren as a pre-workout, then go check out Sam.
And we should do an episode all about crypto at some point. I feel like we should. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I feel like we should. If you guys want to hear an episode on crypto, just let us know by DMing us or taking a screenshot. Cool. All right, I'm going to go eat as well. I hope you guys have an awesome night. Really enjoy this. I'll talk to you guys soon.